Hello everyone, welcome to your first step to the world of web development. In this video, we're going to be breaking down what web development really is, what you can expect to learn, and how the internet really works. So let's jump right in. What is web development? Web development is a practice of developing and maintaining the web. Web development primarily consists of two fields, the front end and the back end development. What is front end development? Front end development is simply development of applications for the browser. Everything you can see in the browser is a front end. If I go to a more sophisticated website, for instance, Apple websites, this is a front end. Front end is usually designed by some of the best designers, usually where the design prowess come to play. When developing the front end, you need to pay careful attention to the design. Your goal in developing front end is to make it to look visually appealing. And of course, you also want it to be functional. To illustrate what a front end really is, let's look at this example. Now, this is a nice and fancy restaurant. This restaurant is analogous to the front end. When you come to this restaurant to order for a meal, you expect a very nice and cozy place. And that is exactly what the restaurant presents. As you can see, it is a very nice environment, beautiful site, clean and neat. That is exactly what the front end is. But behind the scene, there are a lot of activities that take place. When you order for a meal, for instance, the waiter takes your order to the cook, and the cook processes your order at the backend, which is the kitchen. The backend, which could be analogous to this, is where the activities take place. This is where your meals are processed. This is where all the heavy lifting take place, where the business logic take place. The backend of a web application is the part that you want to protect with everything in you. It's the part that if it is compromised, your business may be compromised. But there is a third category in web development, and that third category is known as full stack development. A full stack developer is someone who has understanding of the front end development and back end development. A full stack developer can develop for both the front end and the back end. Nowadays, the web development industry is moving towards a full stack development because most businesses, especially startups and medium-scale businesses, do not want to hire front-end developer differently and back-end developer. They want to hire a single person that will be able to take care of both the front-end and the back-end. And that is why full-stack development is becoming very important. But a lot of people argue that full-stack developers are just like jack of all trades and master of none. But I don't think that is the case. A full-stack developer can master the front-end and the back end and will be able to deliver efficient and scalable products. You can see a simple website sitting on the screen. This is an example of a front end. Let's see how it works behind the scene. A website is usually defined by HTML structure that contains the head and the body. The head is where the metadata of the website is placed. As you can see the metadata of the website. You can also add some SEO information right here in the head of the website. This is also where you place your title and your CSS. And sometimes the JavaScript is also added to the head. So the title of this website right now is my website. So when you come right here, you can see it's my website right here. So if I come here and change it, my other website, save and refresh, as you can see, it changes here. The head does not contain anything you see in the body of your web browser. The head contains metadata. So whatever you see at the body of a web browser is defined inside the body. Right here, you can see the header and other section of this application. And the HTML defines the semantic structure of your application. It doesn't define how the application will look. It just defines the semantic structure. The looks and feel of the website has to be defined in the CSS. This is a CSS here containing the looks and feel of this website. For instance, if I come here and remove this CSS and save and come here, as you can see, everything looks very bad. But if I go back and add the CSS back and save, my website looks good again. The behavior of the website is handled by JavaScript. This is defined here. As you can see, when I come here and click change color, the color changes. change color, the color changes. This behavior is handled by the JavaScript. And if I click on stop animation, the animation stops. This behavior is handled by the JavaScript. So the JavaScript is responsible for the behavior of your website, whereas the CSS is responsible for the look and feel of your website. The HTML is responsible for the structure of your website. So this is very important. You should know this going forward. Having understood the basic structure of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, let's understand how the internet works. This website you see is in my local browser. For it to be accessible by any other person in the world, it has to be hosted. And when it is hosted, it is available in the internet, anybody can access it. There are certain processes that take place when you come to a website and type, for instance, apple.com. How does your browser know to display this particular website for this particular Apple website and not any other website in the world? And that is what we want to talk about. When you type apple.com, your browser talks to what is called the DNS, the domain name server. The DNS is a centralized server that is a registry of all the domain name in the world. Of course, there are various DNSs, but your browser talks to a DNS. It says, DNS, please, I need the IP address of this website. When your browser asks the DNS for the IP address, the DNS goes through its registry and see if that website, if the IP address is available. And if the IP address is available, it sends the IP address to your browser. If it's not available, it talks to some other DNSs to see if they have the IP address. And if they have it, it sends it to your browser. And if there's no DNS with the IP address, for instance, if you come and type .com, which is obviously not a website, as you can see, you see DNS probe finished, NX domain. So this means that this website, the DNS have searched all of its records. This does not exist. So it just tells your browser, this does not exist. Your browser displays this information. So, but when the website exists, it sends the IP address to your browser. So when your browser receives this IP address from the DNS server, it's going to make a request over the internet to the server, which could be hosted somewhere else in the world. So when the server receives this request from the browser, it's going to process it and look at the information contained in that request. Maybe it may require it to make some requests, fetch some data from the database. It can also require it to process some code. It's going to do all the housekeeping, just like the cook would do when you make a request for a meal in the restaurant. It's going to process the data and send back the response over the internet to the browser. And then the browser receiving this information is going to display the results to the screen to you. Sometimes the response that comes back from the server will require the browser to display image and some other, some other static assets, which could be hosted somewhere else, which could be hosted maybe in a CDN, content delivery network. And usually some of this information are hosted in CDN to make it easy for you to access, because CDN are hosted in the closest location nearest to you. Remember, I told you that the server could be located a very far place in the world, but some of these assets, which could be heavy in some cases, may need to be hosted in the CDN for you to easily access them. So your browser may need to make further requests to the CDN to display some information, for instance, an image, sometimes some other assets, some videos and all that to you. So in a nutshell, you should think of this like a restaurant. You make a request in a restaurant, the order is carried over to the backend, which is a server, and it processes the order and serves the order to you, which is serving the web page to you. So now that you understand what web development is, in the next tutorial, we're going to look at how to set up your environment and get hands-on in building your first web application.